All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. I'm Graham Wren. We've got Anthony Winter with us here to bring you a recap from the Chaos tournament on June 12th. Dude, great tournament. I heard it was a scorcher.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. I did absolutely zero research going into it, so I was definitely not prepared. Showed up, it was like 76 degrees, like pretty nice. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good day. Ended up 91 with like 93% humidity and just zero cloud coverage. It felt like through the entire day. Just
Gotcha.
everywhere you went, there was sun. Like
That's
kind
brutal.
of nice burns to show, so it's fine.
Hey, those will turn into tans, right? Or do you just kind of get sunburnt and then peel?
Mine turns into tan for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you win some, you lose some. It sounds like a net positive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully. We
Okay.
might have lost some that day. Like it's fine.
All right. So you want to run through the finishes from the tournament?
Yeah. So the tournament finishes, we had Smith Weaver come in 13th, tied 13th in a 13-team tournament. So just last. We had Pieper Quackley, Robertson Kaiser, Schuler Price, and Ankeny Fortman all tie for ninth. We had Greenfield Wilson and Curry Gustafson. Probably said that incorrectly, but it happens.
Yeah.
Tied seventh. Powers Bajanic took a fifth, losing to Sands and Titus in that crossover. Haas and Haggerty lost to the Lures in the other crossover contender side to get their fifth. Then myself and Joel, as well as Lures and Bigford, both took a third. Sands and Titus came in second to Evan Corey and John Drake. So
Okay. Gotcha. So I got three things to say. First, love that you didn't beat around the bush around who just took a last. Not even a tied for last. Just
well,
took
from what
last.
I heard, I was supposed to be a lot meaner. Basically, every single person at the tournament told me to stop sugarcoating things. So
Gotcha.
figured I'd be more traditional to how I am,
Gotcha. They got used to the Joe Ruzick way of doing things, and now Anthony Winter just seems like a big softy, I guess.
Yeah, apparently. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm not really that nice. So I was like, I can be a lot meaner. Like I'd just be myself.
Gotcha. And then you said you may have mispronounced Gustafson,
Yeah.
and frankly the Met what it boils down to is you have to get a fifth or higher to have beef with people mispronouncing your names, and they took a seventh, so I wouldn't be too
Yeah,
worried about it.
clearly. Yeah, well, I feel like you just have to be in the top half. So 13-team tournament, you get seventh, like you're one place away.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
That would be the cutoff.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Clearly.
Onwards and upwards from there. So I
Exactly.
guess the shock of the day, Evan Corey somehow managing to win a tournament.
Yeah, big time players make big time plays, and Drake had to do all he could to carry Evan to a finals and get that win.
Yeah.
Evan's had a decent track record this year. He's only won every tournament he's played in, so clearly Drake stepped up and carried him to that win.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how was that car ride, buddy?
Oh, it was fantastic. I just had to bribe Evan with like food, basically.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It was fine. He got a ride to do some clinics, so get some more free money. So I think he was okay with it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then I think Cosby Sand and is it Jacob Titus.
Yes.
So that taking a second, that was a pretty big as far as like where we predicted people and where they finished. That seems like the largest jump.
I think so. Well, we predicted them for a fifth, so a second, yeah, three places higher. I
Yeah,
think the only other one
two
that was a
two
big
wins.
difference
Yeah,
was Haas and Haggerty. We predicted them at a ninth and they ended up at a fifth. So that's still, same thing, pretty big jump, 4 spots.
yeah,
I mean, Titus has been playing well most of the summer. He's been kind of bouncing back and forth between a big and a little. We played him in Tennessee. He was playing as a little with Pedro Carvalho, his former college teammate at Lincoln Memorial. He was playing as a little, and I mean, I just didn't think they had the ball control in that tournament to be running some of the stuff and the tempo they were running, and they got a third in that tournament. So Titus kind of was back up at the net in this tournament, running it with Cosby, and Titus sets pretty well, and Cosby. I mean, Joe and I played him in the semifinal, and it was a nail biter 15-13 or 15-12 in set 3, and it was kind of one of those things we kept waiting for Cosby to have one of his, like, oh, he's 17 years old, here comes one of his mental errors, or here comes one of his mistakes, and he just kept it clean throughout. That was kind of our game plan, was just Titus is going to play, Titus is going to ball, so keep the ball on Cosby and see if we can get a couple of just mental errors. And he just played lights out in our game. He played really well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to them on probably a historic finish, at least for one of them, right? At least for Cosby, the way you're saying.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple thirds. He's been in a couple crossovers, I know. I don't know if he's gotten to the second, like outside of playing in, like, 18U, 17U tournament, stuff like that. I'm sure, I mean, I've seen him sign up in like amateur novice tournaments they run at Sin City the weekend after they run like the Chaos Opens that he's won and stuff like that. But at the open level, I think this might be one of his, if not his highest finish. So good for him. He's making great progress for 17 years old, man. I wish I knew what volleyball was at 17 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. So,
and he's got the last name for it. You can't just have the name Sand and just not perform, not put on the performances.
Yeah, living up to his namesake for sure, and that's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
So Lures and Bigford got third, but you guys did beat them in the winter semi, right?
Yeah, we played them in the winter semi. We won in 2. And then I believe against Evan and Drake, it was the same thing. They won in 2 against Evan and Drake, or they lost in 2 to Evan and Drake. From what I know, the Heat got to Bigford a little bit. He was struggling a little bit with the Heat. I didn't get to see that match as I was playing in my own match, in which we were struggling with the Heat on our own side. So, but from what I heard, he did not do super well in the Heat. So, and then in our semi, we just we went towards Bigford. We had 2 bigger guys. So we figured instead of just letting Lures look at us, chop it around, and make us play defense, we'll go at a big guy that'll let us play a little bit more blocker ball.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. What I hear you saying though, with the humidity, if y'all were struggling, a lot of these Ohio boys and further northern guys were struggling, sounds like the heat and humidity really gave Evan Cordy an advantage, due to the conditions being from the bayou.
Yeah, we were comparing a little bit of our whoop like data afterwards, and I mean, he played more matches. Clearly, he was in the finals, and I wasn't. And I think like my strain was like 4 points higher than his, or something like that. Like it was just like Evan was like barely sweating, and there I was the entire day, just feeling like I was gonna melt. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, he definitely had that going for him. He was talking during the finals and making side bets because he was talking about how he wanted to make the finals a little more interesting. I'm like, all right, sweet dude, like you're good at volleyball, we get it.
Yeah. So who were the 5th place teams again?
Powers and Bojanic and Haas and Haggerty.
Okay. Did you get to see any of the 5th place games while you were kind of warming up and waiting to see?
Yeah, we watched Powers, Bojanic versus Sands and Titus, because we were going to play whoever won that one.
Sure.
I peeked over at the other one for a little bit, but I didn't watch a ton of it. Powers was definitely a little bit cashed. Again, he just got to some people.
Sure.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody, I don't remember who said it, but they were talking about the picks, and they're like, how'd you pick Powers Bojanic when one of the guys looks like he's about to keel over? And then 2 points later, he went up and got a Kong block on Cosby diving into the cross, and then proceeded to look like after the play that he was still dying. I'm like, because even when he looks like he's dying, he still does stupid shit like that. Like,
yeah.
I was like, that's why I just relied on that, honestly. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, Sands Titus, clearly they're just, alpha conditioning, just better than everybody else in that aspect.
Yeah.
Must have been it, because I can't give Cosby anything else.
I usually appreciate days like that. We get a fair amount of them in Virginia Beach, where it's any July and a lot of August tournaments, all of a sudden the high on the day is like 95. We have pretty high humidity, and especially like waiting through the losers bracket, it turns into a survival match. It's like
Yeah.
who can still play solid ball and survive the best, and who's in the condition that they need to be to generate enough real points and side out points. Turns into a totally different ball game.
My old partner and I talked about it. We're like, on some of these tournaments and some of these days, like especially when you're playing like a qualifier or something like that, where it's like, you got 64 teams, and you got to play 5 matches in a day. It almost turns into more of a marathon than it does a sprint. Like volleyball in general feels like more of a sprint, but then you get to those grueling days, and it's annoying. Sucks. Clearly I need to do more cinder block jumps. Just wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
Need to get that send me the Amish workout facility where they had cinder blocks and all that. I need to build one of those and just get out there when it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you went soft on me, got a medicine ball, and all of a sudden you got out there and you can't keep your breath.
Honestly,
unacceptable.
I bet if I would have been doing cinder block touches the last 2 weeks, I wouldn't have, felt like I was about to cramp. That was it.
Yeah, I'm sure Evan covered that in your clinic the next day, just to rub it in.
Yeah, exactly. He only got asked like 15 times why he has a blue nose, so that question only popped up every single clinic.
Gotcha.
I think I answered that question more times in the clinic than I did actual volleyball questions. Like, I would be over on another court and people like wouldn't want to ask him. They'd be like, "Why is his nose blue?" I'm like, "You can ask him literally any volleyball question, and that's your one." Like,
that's beautiful and also painful.
Yeah, it was great. One of my juniors was like, "How come you weren't at our tournament yesterday?" I was like, "Well, if you have to know, I was losing to the guy running your clinic today." So
nice. So Greenfield and Wilson, they take a seventh. I know you were really high on them going in.
Yeah, I had them at a fifth. They ended up taking a seventh. I believe they lost to Haas Haggerty. I think I have the bracket up so I can look and see who they actually played, but I believe it was Haas. No, they lost to Bajanic and Powers. So, I mean, we had them at a fifth, which would have meant they would have played Bajanic Powers either one game. No, they would have played in the other crossover. So just a slight difference in the bracket from the bracket we had built to the one that ended up being used in the tournament. So they could have ended up a fifth, or they could have ended up a seventh. They were right about where we had them finishing. So definitely thought they were going to win their first match though. I refed that one actually. Well, kind of refed that one. I was a little bit late. Drake had to fill in for me reffing, but details. I make one YouTube video, all of a sudden I'm a sellout and I'm showing up late. So the name gets to my head. They played their first one against Curry Gustafson, and it just did not go well. I mean, we were watching, and they're making a bunch of errors that I just didn't expect them to make. So
yeah, they were ready to go, but then like the ref team wasn't there, and they kind of threw their whole game off.
Yeah. They were expecting me to make certain calls that they may not have gotten from Drake, for two very different style refs,
Yeah.
People have very different styles refing, so you have to prepare your game and cater your game for that.
Yeah. And then one of the other early round matchups, I believe you picked. I
picked the upset of Pieper Coeckley losing to Ankeny Fortman, which did not happen, and Ryan made sure to let me know about that one.
Yeah, but also to Ryan, you then went and took a ninth by losing your very next two matches. So I don't want to hear a damn thing.
I had him finishing a seventh, and he ended up a ninth, but he won the first round match. So I called it a draw on the day,
Oh, that's not even a draw. That's a win for you. Are you kidding me? I think we had him take.
I think that's not a win for me. I was still wrong. I was just wrong twice then. I picked them to be seventh. They weren't seventh. And then I picked them to lose, and they won. So I was just wrong twice.
Yeah.
So.
He still took a bigger L with it, though. So that's a win for you.
Appreciate you looking out for me, but like I was just wrong twice in that instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. They finished ninth, and I had picked them as a seventh. They did win that first round game against Ankeny Fortman. Ankeny Fortman I watched some of that match, when I had breaks reffing, and they'd peel, get a great dig, or they'd get a good touch and a block, and then they just like would set each other like 10 off and hit like a roll shot like right at a defender, and like then they'd do the same thing, and then they'd like set it each other on the net. Like it was just like didn't seem like the setting was there, especially the transition setting in that first match against Pieper and Queckley. And I mean, I feel like if you can't really get an offensive opportunity out of transition, you're not going to be able to turn those reels and win that match. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Were they like in system digs, or were they like semi in, semi out?
it was like it was a little bit of both. I felt like they didn't really capitalize on their in system or their out of system digs. I felt like I'd see them get an out of system dig, and they'd just kind of end up free balling it over. They'd get an in system dig, and they'd have to roll shot from like 8 feet off the net, like as opposed to like transitioning that, generating an opportunity. Which
Sure.
I mean, they still kept it pretty close in set one. I think it was a 21-19, and I felt like they weren't playing super well in
Yeah.
terms of how I know my Wolf boss Steve Ankeny can play, but they had the opportunities, they had the chances, they just didn't capitalize.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think we covered most of the finishes. You want to talk about some of your matches on the day? Kind of dive into some of yours. Like I want to hear about like Botanic Powers, and I also kind of want to hear a little bit more about Lures and Bigford.
Yeah, I was say I'll talk about any of them, even that depressing loss we took, if you really want to know. But our first one, Botanic Powers, kind of went in, we just wanted to keep the ball. We split block, we wanted to kind of just figure out what we wanted to do. We're just figuring things out. They were float serving, so it kept us pretty in system. So all we kind of were doing was just chopping around. We were just basically going high over the block. We felt like on the day there was probably one or two blockers that we were maybe felt like, okay, we're going to need to keep it off the net. We're going to need to be a little bit more aggressive, keep it on the defenders. But like we felt like with this team, we kind of keep the ball a little bit more towards the net, just chop around the block, make them make plays over or around the block, and then as long as we were swinging still a little bit, kept them off balance. So they ran like, I want to say they ran like 3-4 points off of me in set one. And just because like I just wasn't realizing that. And then set two, I just kind of started chucking a lot of high lines in, sided out. I felt like a lot better. We rolled a little bit cleaner, and they put a couple balls at Joel, and Joel was just siding out like a monster most of the day. So we kind of I didn't feel like we breezed through it. Like the scores were pretty close, but at the same time, there was not really a point where I was like, damn, I don't think we're going to win this match. Like I felt pretty confident through most of it. Then we went to Lures Bigford, and we decided, I told you a little bit earlier, we were like, all right, let's go at Bigford. Like we have two bigger guys. Like a lot of times when I split block, like I like to go with that mindset. Like we're two bigger guys. A lot of times when somebody's going at a big, it's because there's big little matchup, so they can still like shoot, stuff like that. But like we're just going to try and use our athleticism, see if we can make plays. Just blockers, go for it. And then we're having some success, but like, believe it or not, I'm not actually good at defense. Like I never get reps at it. So we made this switch towards the end of set two that Joel was just going to stay back in defense. I'd go up and block, which helped out. Joel was able to just get good reads, and because he didn't have to worry about, oh, am I up at the net, am I back? Like making the different reads and then at the net, I'm like, all right, I just need to see where he's going to go and just dive into that, as opposed to like, sometimes in defense, I'm like, all right, I need to see where the block is. I need to see where the set is. I need to adjust. Like, so it let us just like hone in on specific things. And I felt like that really helped. So we pulled out the last couple of points of set one in 21-19, I think it was. And then set two was 21-17. And that was another one that it just kind of felt like it felt good. It felt like we were rolling. We were siding out well. We were turning reels. So those two matches were pretty nice and got us some good momentum going forward. Then we kind of just ran into the buzzsaw of the heat and the youth being in better condition than us.
Yeah, playing youth at the end of a hot day is never a good draw.
It wasn't. I mean, the credit to them too. They've also both played really, really well. It wasn't just heat or anything like that. Like, not an excuse. They both played well, but we also just I felt like could have played a little bit better, and it would have been, turned the match a little bit in our favor. I think Cosby tooled me like 6 times in set one. And finally I was like, I need to just stop going like super wide on my block, just try and grab the ball, because he's just swinging at my hands. Ended up getting a couple blocks in the next set. And then he was popping a couple balls at Joel because he's not able to just get those tools that are almost undiggable behind me. He hits my high hands, it goes into the net. There's not much Joel can do about that. But if I narrow up my block and then he pops a roll shot in, Joel takes one step and it's a dig.
Sure.
So we made that adjustment going into set two. We took set two, and then Joel, we get through set three. We lose, I think it was like 15-12. Talking to Joel afterwards, I was like, yeah, I felt like I was on the verge of cramping like most of that match. I'm like, I never did, but I just felt like it. And Joel goes, well, I felt great at the end of set two. He's like, I actually went in, grabbed some water. He goes, I was just chilling inside, like cooling off. He goes, and then all of a sudden everything hit me. He's like, the entire set three, he's like, I think I was basically gone, like basically done. I was like, oh, well, I guess we're at least going to give the people a finals match, like
Yeah,
we did it.
that's good.
That was it.
Yeah. Then the finals looked like kind of looked like they ran into the buzzsaw of experience and athleticism that is Evan Corey and John Drake.
Yeah. Like I said, big time players make big time plays, and Drake just did everything he could, to carry Evan to a win. Evan was just there, just spectating basically.
Yeah.
Evan and Drake both set well, so they were in system the entire time. I don't think Titus and Sand were serving near aggressive enough to even try and put them out of system. And then like the scores were relatively close, but I also felt like through the match, like there were times where you could be like, all right, Corey and Evan and Drake are like kind of like playing it easy, relaxed a little bit. Like I told you, Evan went and made that side bet, and it was that him and Drake each had to get one tomahawk kill from the tech timeout in set two to the end of the match, and the guy would have bought him, I think it was like a pitcher each or something like that. So Drake sets Evan, and Evan goes up and third contact tries to go for the tomahawk kill, almost gets a kill to fall. Like later in the match, Drake goes up to block and is blocking with the tomahawk. I'm like, all right. So like there was never really, I felt like any real stress in that one.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if they're doing tomahawk shenanigans,
yeah.
Yeah.
There was some real pristine reffing going on too. So there was no way that any of that bullshit was getting through,
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, thanks for giving us a recap. And I guess to all the viewers, thank you for watching and listening to another East Coast Volleyball Network recap video, some regularly scheduled programming, if you will. Be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us out a lot, and we're actually up to like 880 subscribers at this point, so we're getting close to that 1,000 mark.
There, man, right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it like my personal vendetta that by winter it's like 1,000. So that way next year it's the entire year you got it. Like
yeah, that'd be awesome.
hopefully well before that, like hopefully in like the next month, but it's fine.
Yeah. And actually a big shout out to Evan Corey for helping us out too. Evan's been posting a lot of his matches, and I think that's helped us a good bit with subscribers as well. So as much shit as we gave you today, Evan, thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, he had a good time up in Cleveland. It all worked out. He ate a lot of good food, had a couple drinks. So I don't think it was any salt from me not picking him to win.
Yeah.
Of course. It's just the worst when somebody picks you not to win and you win and you get some money instead.
Yeah, it sounds fucking awful. I don't know how he does it.
I would hate for that to happen. Gosh.
And talk about just dragging yourself out of bed in the morning. Just brutal.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing you made money playing volleyball that weekend just sounds like a terrible, terrible way to start your week.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks.